Hey guys, I'm back. You're most probably wondering, why have I been gone for so long? And also, how have I gotten from 200 to 700 and something subscribers without uploading since August? To answer the second question, I don't know. But thank you for subscribing. I'm guessing that people must enjoy my content. And for the first question of where I've been, mainly at work. So thank you for being patient with me and sticking around on the channel. So I thought that I would do as my return a review of this. You're most probably wondering, what is this? It says TMA-2 Modular Headphone System. It's by someone's friend at AIAIAI, which I hope is how you pronounce it, or else I just sound like someone who's just consistently saying yes. This is an empty box. Look, see, there's nothing in here. I've tricked you. There is no review. Okay, look, I'm kidding. There is a review. I just need to go and get them. They're over there somewhere. I'll be back in a bit. So these are the TMA-2s, but in a configuration with an H10 headband, I think, the SO5 speakers, and also some Alcantara earpads. Now, the reason that I have to mention all of that is because these are modular. And when you go onto their website, you can choose which headphones you want to get. You can choose between a few preset versions, but you can also do a level of customization. Now, this is actually the setup that you get with the Wireless Plus if you just decide to get those. They come at around £300. The reason I still got these semi-custom and direct from AIAIAI, who I hope is their name, is because I wanted to have a green audio cable. It's literally it. Let me show it to you. It's really cool. Hold on a minute. Look, see, it's this. Look at how cool it looks. Really cool. I really enjoyed it. The standard one I think is like a black or a grey. I thought I need this one. It costed the same. I wanted these, so here we go. So the thing about these is that they're modular, but also that they are user built. So they come as all of the separate bits, the headband, the ear cups, the ear pads, the audio cable, all of that stuff comes in the box, but in its own little bits of packaging made out of recycled plastic. And you basically build your headphone from the parts that you've ordered, which gets you into the first thing that I really like about these headphones. Well, the fact that they're modular, but also the fact that they're upgradable and really easy to repair. Those are the ATH M50Xs. In case you can't see them, here they are, ATH M50Xs. And yeah, these are pretty much your expected cabled headphone for if you're doing music production. And I have to say, these are really my favorite headphones for this sort of job, at least so far. The biggest thing with the M50s that makes them good as general headphones is that they have a removable cable and replaceable ear pads. However, the TMA-2s take this a step further by having a replaceable speaker, a repairable speaker, because you can just open these up and have a look inside, alongside the replaceable cables and the replaceable ear pads. And also, the cable can go into either ear cup, so either your left or your right, depending on either if one of them decides to misbehave, or if you just prefer having your cable on a certain side of your headphone. So what made me buy these? Well, I originally owned TMA-1s way back in the day. I'm talking at least a good like 5, maybe even 10 years ago. I owned TMA-1s, and I quite liked the TMA-1s. They had quite a good sound, a little bit on the dark side, but not something I didn't like. And then I accidentally blew them up with a headphone amplifier that I was building. I'm sorry guys. But I've always really liked the idea of headphones that you can just swap bits out of. You can just take bits off and put new bits on, and then you have new headphones. You don't have to buy a whole new set of headphone, and it ends up being at least a bit more friendly in the long run, right? Like, I could keep these for ages and just keep upgrading bits as they get better. But then they made updates to the TMA-1 to kind of make them have a round ear cup, so you could use them more for studio work, kind of worked with the tuning a bit. And then they made the TMA-2s, and I just never decided to get them because I thought, well, I've got my HD6XXs, I've got these, do I really need them? The answer now is yes, and I'm going to explain why. Now, of course, every review has to have a level of organization, so I'm going to start with So the things I like is that you can choose how much you want to pay, and you're not necessarily having to skimp on sound. Like, you can get exactly the same sound I have here and spend a whole lot less by not getting the wireless plus functionality or any Bluetooth functionality or anything at all. You can just get these as cabled headphones, and you're spending about the same amount as you would with ATH-M50Xs, except that, at least in my mind, you have something that's going to last a bit longer because you can just take bits off and replace them. And of course, once it gets down to it, if you want to get new speaker units, you're spending a lot less than new headphones in general, because you can just still use your headband and stuff. That's pretty cool. Now, these ones in particular have a wireless plus feature, which I've been talking about a few times, but I haven't really explained well. So I'm going to explain it a bit better using the magic of the internet and also some things that come in the bag. So wait here while I get some more stuff out of the bag. This is the X01, and it is a transmitter that you plug in using a jack cable. Whoop. It has like the big jack on it, but it just screws off and you have a small one on there. But the reason that that's cool is that it's not Bluetooth. It is, from what I understand, basically Wi-Fi / radio frequency. You pair those two up, you plug this into whatever it is, and you get latency of about 15 milliseconds according to their website. I did some quick sort of like mixing on these this morning just to give them a try on wireless only, and I noticed absolutely nothing. I even plugged this into the Switch. No real latency. So outside of real playing, like playing back live, I doubt you'd really notice the latency with these if you were using them wirelessly for mixing or mastering. Nothing stops you just using a cable with these. It still has cabled inputs, but sometimes you just want to, sit back and relax. Maybe you have your computer really far away, or the headphone jack isn't really easy to get to. You can just use that as a way to go straight into it. I think that's a pretty cool feature. This wireless plus headband, the H10, does also have Bluetooth as well as that wireless plus feature. So if you're looking to use them with a mobile device, you can still connect them up. This doesn't have a microphone, so you can't use them for phone calls, but you can use them for listening to your music, maybe for some, mixed translation or something like that. I wouldn't really use this that much with my phone unless I was just sitting down listening to music, but they do sound good over Bluetooth and over their wireless plus functionality. I don't notice any real difference when I'm using a cable. If anything, I notice that if you have these turned up quite high while they're using the wireless plus, you get a bit of a hiss from them. If you turn them down, that's absolutely fine. These are generally sensitive enough. Like when I plugged this in, it was sensitive enough that I was able to still hear everything perfectly fine with my computer set to like maximum and these set to about halfway-ish. So when the hiss kind of went away, it didn't really get in the way. So the M50Xs, I kind of say, are something that you can use for mixing, but you have to know where it's like dips and peaks are. And the biggest thing I noticed with these is that they have a bit of a bloat somewhere around like what feels like 200, 150 that makes your kick and all of your bass sound a little bit more forward, and they end up being a bit sibilant with the high end, but the mids are pretty flat, and that helps out quite a bit with most of your instruments. So if you're able to filter those out, then you're absolutely fine. Sonarworks really helps with these. I find these around the same level of neutral as the M50Xs, which isn't bad, but it's not flat if you're looking for perfectly flat. These cost me £300 because I chose the wireless plus option, but for £300 you could get yourself a used set of HD600s if you didn't care about the wireless plus functionality, and you'd have a flatter experience, albeit with open back. On saying that though, the detail that you get on these, especially when you go up from the mids into your treble region, definitely doesn't feel as sibilant and as harsh as the M50X, which I think is a much better representation of my music. I found that going back to some of my previous mixes with these, I've noticed issues instantly and been able to just mess with them and go, okay, sweet, well, this is a problem, I need to fix them here. That's a problem, I need to fix that there. And this is the same sound quality that you get when you're using them wirelessly if you get the wireless headband as you do cabled, albeit with a bit of a change in volume level, because when you're using them cabled, you have to drive them through a pretty decent amp. Now, of course, course, the sound can change depending on your setup. So I'm using the SO5 Mark II speakers with the Alcantara over-ear ear pads, which are meant to be more transparent but don't really offer a lot of isolation. You can get leather ear pads, you can also get on-ear ear pads, and all of those will slightly change the sound even just with these speaker units before you then look at different speakers. So if you're looking at something that's a lot more on the punchy side, you can choose to get that instead. But the SO5 Mark IIs, which they say as their neutral sounding drivers, definitely sound about as neutral as any of my other headphones do. I think overall, the TMA-2s, in terms of their sound, are really quite pleasant to listen to, but still give you something that is detailed enough that you can work with it when it comes to your mixing and your mastering. And I don't mean detail as in just the high end of your sound, I mean detail overall. You can hear how different your bass's texture is and really work with it quite well on something like the TMA-2s, in my opinion. Of course, the M50Xs aren't bad just because these exist. I'm gonna keep these, and I can still see a reason why I would have these, but I do definitely enjoy the TMA-2s, especially because with the wireless plus feature, you can use them wirelessly with that dongle, which, as much as it's, kind of big, it's about the size of like a smartphone, a relatively small to medium sized phone. Like, you're still gonna be able to use this, and it still gives you really great ways to make a lot of stuff use wireless audio without having to worry about the latency of Bluetooth. I could use this with my dining table sessions to monitor my mixes, so I have one less cable going around somewhere. I could plug this into my synthesizer and leave my synthesizer somewhere while I'm controlling it using Bluetooth MIDI with that little WIDI jack if I wanted to. I could really start to use this as a way to move into a much more wireless or less wired approach to producing music with a lot of the hardware that I now have. So, it works pretty well. Also, I have an OP1, so you know what that means? I can use this with my OP1 to be able to listen to my OP1 wirelessly, so I don't need to have a cable with it. Works out a little bit better. This will sit behind an OP1. I have rubber bands in my bag somewhere, so I can use those. And that's an overview of my TMA-2s. I'm going to put down what spec I have, so if you wanted to get this type, you can do. The most important bit for the sound that I'm experiencing are the speaker units and the ear pads. Everything else is just to do with QoL stuff, so just making sure that I have that wireless plus with also the ability to use Bluetooth whenever I want to. But yeah, I think overall they're pretty good headphones. I like the idea of them being modular and therefore being something that you can keep for a lot longer and just keep upgrading when you want to, rather than needing to worry about having to get a whole new set of headphones and then sell your old ones. Even just simple things like switching out a headband or switching out speakers. So if you want to have a different sound, you don't need to have two headphones. You just have one headphone and you just switch the bits out. It's pretty cool, definitely. Also, the packaging, incredible. It comes like all flat pack and you build it yourself. It was a very fun morning for me, definitely. When that came through UPS, I was very excited. But thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying the rest of your day. Stay safe and all of that. I have a feeling that my tea's cooled down now, so now I can have it. Yeah, cool.